Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back to talk about The Amazing Race. Of course, the Big Brother edition, episode 9, after a big, dramatic double U-turn vote. We are here to talk about everything from Greece. And of course, we are back here with our chief Amazing Race correspondent. It's Jessica Liese. Jess, how are you?
I'm doing great,
Jessica
Rob.
Grease, I will call you today. Grease is the word.
Grease is the word. I am ready to get into all of the stuff that happened.
All of
in
the
this episode.
stuff. That's right. Okay. And here with us, of course, from the Acropolis, it's Mike Bloom.
Yes, coming from the Parthenon to talk about a marathon of an episode.
A man who's always pushing syphilis up a hill.
Yeah, there's a drug for that nowadays. I think there's a pill you can take.
Yeah. All right, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well. I mean, listen, what I will say off the top here is that
Off the dome.
Exactly. One of the Grecian pioneers back in the day. Was this a good episode of The Amazing Race? If you look at the tasks, which we might do minimally, maybe not. You know, things seemed relatively straightforward and minimal there. Was this a great episode of television? Hell yes. Hades, yes.
I think it's a Big Brother.
Yeah, I mean, this is, basically it was for the first, third of the episode. I mean, this U-turn vote was scintillating. Emphasis on sin, I suppose, because if you ask certain people, sins were committed up on the hilltop. I think that this is maybe proof of concept of this season alone. We've talked a lot about, I think there's been a lot of good stuff to enjoy about this season. The teams, a lot of the tasks, even the route, but getting to have these people just breed so much beef amongst all the messiness that happened with this U-turn vote. This is sort of like what I was waiting for and didn't realize I was waiting for it until it actually happened. And not to mention, we also have a major frontrunner get taken out, and not just because, like we experienced last time this happened, of the U-turn vote. It was entirely of their own volition. The Amazing Race gods determined that Tucker and Eric would fall on this day. They were mere mortals.
Yeah, and we got the chance to talk to Tucker and Eric. Jess and I had a nice chat with them. Mike did as well. And yeah, that I told them I felt like that this was so weird because they were such a dominant team, but I felt like that they had underdog vibes this whole season because that it was almost like everybody was against them.
Well, yeah, and you didn't have it. They weren't the only dominant team. You kind of had them vying back and forth between, it was like them and Jag and Jazz. And Jag and Jazz, I think, I would say they have zero underdog to them. So,
and they have a lot of
they're top cat, baby.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So then by comparison, even if you have a minimal amount of underdog, that's going to look better. Wait, is the opposite of underdog? Is it updog?
I say top cat.
Yeah, I say under cat. Well, it's up to you. We'll put out a poll.
Everyone vote. Comment in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Are you team updog, team top cat, or team undercat?
So, all right, let us know. And Mike, I just want to comment. So I'm just looking at the detail of this is like a real toga that you have. Mike is not just wearing a sheet.
No, definitely not. I've committed to the bit. I've actually time traveled back to BCE, not chat BCC, to be able to just snatch something off of Socrates and bring it back for all the world to show. So listen, I commit to a bit, folks, okay? I am loyal to my wardrobe apartment here at RHAP.
Okay. All right. Well, Tucker and Eric are out of the race, and really it came down to a memorization task, and really it was also a partner selection issue where it did seem like that I didn't want to bring it up with them, but it seemed like that Eric could have aced this.
Well, I was trying to delicately bring it up with them.
Like they know. We don't have to tell them. They know.
No, but I did, I don't want to be the one, like, I know the Big Brother people got to handle them a little bit delicately. But yeah, I did. I wanted to point blank ask, why didn't Eric do this? And their response was that they put zero strategic thought into their roadblocks across the board. And it just happened that when Tucker's turn came up this episode, it was the wrong thing for him.
Yeah. I didn't really think about this until I was thinking over his big brother elimination. I'm fairly sure Tucker has expressed that he has dyslexia, which makes this choice. I mean, granted, when you say who's the alpha, you're not necessarily predicting that you need to memorize the Greek alphabet.
And I believe Eric said, well, Tucker is the alpha for this. Like, very, very clear, like, not the general alpha.
Exactly, not the capital A alpha. And I think that was also the problem as well, is that, so we can certainly get into it. I think if you had Greek life experience, that may have helped. But I do think that having them, at least from my perspective, as someone who was part of Greek life, like having them be undercase letters lowercase letters would have tripped me up as well, just because I'm used to the uppercase letters.
Is it undercase or lowercase? Let us
know. Or is it bottom case?
Yeah, but
bottom C.A, Mike.
Was it not a Greek tragedy for Tucker and Eric of these Greek gods of the amazing race, only that they're like good at everything, and if anything, that they were just victims of their own success, of like they just do everything so fast that it came down to a decision made too quickly to not stop and wait, hold on, what are we doing?
Would you call it their Achilles heel?
Not after Squid Game this week.
Yikes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about this vote where we knew it was going to be a tie vote from the previews. We didn't know how. I don't know if we were necessarily expecting that it was going to be a tie vote on the second team.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like maybe a three-way tie at the top.
Yeah. This was, I mean, I think the thing that really tripped us up that we did not realize, because the previous two times they've done this, one team votes for one team. In this instance, and maybe it was to increase the messiness and the dramatics.
Ranked choice voting?
I mean, it was essentially like each team got an individual double U-turn to use. And so now we're not dealing with 6 votes. Now we're dealing with 12.
Yeah. Okay. So off the bat, everybody votes for Tucker and Eric except for Tucker and Eric?
They got 4 votes.
They got 4, yeah.
Okay. Who didn't vote for them?
All right. Now, I believe it was Jack and Chelsea. Also, remember Chelsea did a thing about like, all right, Tucker, I'm going to make it back to you. I did blindside you, at this point, less than a year ago.
Okay,
so I'm going to help you out
Chelsea
here.
and Jack picked the 2 Express Pass teams. All right, so they get 4 votes. All right, but then it comes down to it's going to end up being a tie between Jag and Jess, and then also Kylan and Taylor.
Yeah, and I don't like this from a game design perspective because there is literally no downside to any team except for perhaps the team that might not have gotten U-turned otherwise. Like the more teams that have U-turns, the better from everybody's point of view. If you are not U-turned, you want, of course, all the other teams to be U-turned so that they have to do more. If you are U-turned, you want as many teams as possible to also be U-turned so that you have more of a chance of catching up. So there's literally like nobody has any reason not to want to force this tie and get 3 teams into the U-turn.
Easier said than done, though, I think, with forcing the tie, right?
I mean, no, not really. It kind of came down to like the very last vote, and you could go either way with that. I don't think they colluded. I don't think they talked it out that much, but my sense of it is they did know that something like this was coming up. Like they knew there was a vote coming up before I heard something on Chat BCC about how they were in the airport talking about who they were going to vote for.
They knew about this at the airport beforehand?
They knew there was a vote. I don't think they knew the exact mechanics of it. So I don't think they were able to like math it all out. Also, I don't know who really would think about it that hard, but
also remember that they had seen some of these season 37 before flying out, and season 37 right after the driver's seat did have the U-turn vote, so it could have been something that was top of mind anyway, even if they didn't get a tip off for it.
Okay, all right, should we talk through the teams voting and talk about anything wonky that we saw there?
Yeah, let's do it. This is fun. We get to do it like a know-it-alls about Amazing Race.
Okay, all right. So let's go to okay. So what was it? First up, Tucker and Eric, right? They go with Kylan and Taylor and Jag and Jazz.
No brainer.
About what you'd expect. Nothing weird here.
Nothing weird.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I think actually Joseph and Adam went before them. If we want to talk through their first vote really quick,
and they got a vote.
Less contentious than the second vote.
Sure.
They got a phantom vote, which was
oh yeah, let's talk about
the biggest cop out ever.
That was again something we completely unexpected. When Phil said you have to face like a penalty next league, we thought it was going to be a speed bump.
Yeah.
Yes, this was a little vague, but we're like, clearly you just go with this, right? Like, what 26 seasons of Amazing Race has sort of provided this background. No, they just have like a vote against them.
Very weak penalty. This might have been less than eat an ice cream cone, Beekman boys.
Yeah, and Tucker and Eric would eat an ice cream cone anyway.
And get a magnet.
Yeah, this was weak sauce. They should have at least I don't know, there was one season where the team that got the speed bump, they both had to do the roadblock.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm really surprised we have not brought back more. Those were like the Frisbee Bros, I think, or is that the Frisbee Bros in 26, or it was the Bros in 27?
It was the social media influencer season.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah,
and they were some variety of bros.
But it was that one person had to do the roadblock. Essentially, it was like a U-turn roadblock where it's like, okay, and now the other person has to do it as well. That just seems so simple to me. It means you don't need to create an entire other cast or a task with another, local to hire, that you need a production crew to man for a certain amount of time. Like, just have them do it twice, and that's enough of a disadvantage.
Yeah, or there are some international editions of The Amazing Race, not to get super duper geeky. Like, I'm going to put my glasses down here on my nose and be a nerd about this, but they have a mechanism called a handicap in some of the foreign editions. I think notably Norway had it. A couple others, but instead of a speed bump, it's just like you get to the task and yours is like 20% harder. Like, like you have to,
like the driver's seat, essentially.
Yeah, it's like the driver's seat. Like one team has to make 10 of something, you have to make 15.
With all of our Amazing Race road signs, like the handicap spot, though, it's actually makes it sound like it's going to be close. Yeah. You're closer. You get to get like a much better parking at the pit stop if it's the handicap. I mean, that's what I would think.
We had the hazard, which is functionally similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you would not want to call it the handicap, which I think we don't really use that word for anything but golf anymore.
I actually would love if they brought back the hazard, but the hazard punishment has to specifically be riding around in that shoe car from the first leg. There's no other idea of a hazard. It's only the Palumbo brothers memorial shoe.
No, it's a different shoe according to what country you're in. It's like the local shoe.
Also, it'd be like a Grecian sandal.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Adam and Joseph, they go Tucker and Eric, and then they punt and vote for Jack and Chelsea. All right. Jack and Chelsea, they pick the Express Pass teams. Okay.
No brainer.
Yeah, which is like sort of like retroactive, right? Like it's not like you're flushing the Express Pass, which was what some people were maybe talking about happening the first time. It's more so like you had your advantage, now it's our turn.
But why is it a no-brainer? Why not cast a vote for? They're more concerned with who's getting the second. They know that's going to be Tucker and Eric.
Yeah, I mean that's always tough, right? That's the bystander effect of like if everyone. We'll talk about this obviously with the burn votes that are happening. Like if everyone exacted that logic, then you get like Izzy and Paige and Jack and Chelsea nominated instead. But in this capacity, maybe they thought that. Was it like a hinky vote essentially, right? Or a sympathy vote? They're like, we know Tucker and Eric are getting it. So like, let's try to pile it now onto who's the second most likely team to get U-turned.
Okay. This is now, things are going to start to get a little bit more interesting. Jag and Jazz, they go with Tucker and Eric naturally and Kylan and Taylor. And their reasoning seems to be what upsets Kylan and Taylor.
Yeah, this was, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't have the history, but it seemed to me like people were getting very upset about this move when I feel like objectively it was the right move.
Yeah, from Jag and Jess's perspective, it's just like you turn the other two strong teams, or the teams
you
most
turn the
likely
other
to
two
U-turn.
strong teams because you know everybody else is going to be voting for the 3 strong teams, and you know you are one of those teams. So otherwise you're throwing away your vote at this point because they're doing something that I feel like I always say it's a little bit backwards logic with the U-turn, but this late in the race it's different. Because early on in the race, you get a U-turn. You should U-turn a team that's in the back because that team will go home and you never have to deal with them again. But when you're down to 6 teams, I think the logic might be a little different because it's like anybody could go home if one thing goes wrong. So I see why we're targeting. And also, they're all playing 4D Big Brother chess up here, trying to figure out like strategically, how do we knock out our competition?
Yeah, so I would agree with that, and I will certainly get into this with the next team, that I think the strategy makes sense, the reasoning did not.
Reasoning sucked. Yeah.
I think trying to do the Vanessa Rousseau, there's got to be a reason behind it. We overheard Kylan apparently say this gentleman's agreement thing was pretty weak sauce, considering that, as Taylor talks about in confessional, like, just say that you're U-turning the other two quote-unquote stronger teams to sort of like, misery loves company, we're going to hop on board to probably what everyone else is doing. I think while it makes sense to try to save face by assigning a reason to it, it feels like something that can be so easily contested or countered by the parties involved that it feels like, for a move that, to your point, Jess, feels like more so obscuring yourself than putting your neck on the line, it does kind of put your neck on the line by being like, well, you did this specific thing, so you have to pay for it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of these situations where there is a reason. You don't have to invent a reason. You don't have to over-explain yourself. It's like, it's like when you're a kid and you're lying to your parents about something. The more details you put on it, the more suspicious you seem. So all you have to do is say, I did it for reasons. Like, you don't have to go into a big long thing about morality and about, like, I heard these rumors about this BS alliance that wasn't really even a thing. I feel like they called us out. Who cares? Just say you're a strong team. You're a threat. Like, and that's what everybody internalizes anyway. When something bad happens to them on a reality show, everybody always internalizes it as, oh, well, people are afraid of me because I'm a threat. So yeah, it's an all-purpose excuse. You don't need to get fancy with it.
And Taylor and Kylan are really, they call them out. They say, that's messed up.
Yeah, and it leads to obviously a very upset Taylor. And she has talked on Chat BCC about the fact that apparently in between numerous legs, her and Kylan have had a lot of confessionals that did not make the air for obvious reasons, where they talked a lot about how they feel there is gender iniquity in a lot of production, a lot of leg design when it comes to, giving tasks that favor stronger physical men, especially towards the end of the race. So clearly this is something that they've been feeling for a while. And I think, calling back to that gentleman's agreement thing, when from Taylor's perspective, it was more so just an emotional response to what she was seeing, which we again will say back then, like, was not specifically meant to target women, but Taylor saw the optics of the situation. And for her, I think it very much resonated with a narrative that she was personally feeling. And so to have it sort of be put in front of her here made her upset, and had her saying something that she would come to regret, I'm sure, not only in the moment, but for many months to follow.
Yeah, it got a little bit ironic up in there.
All right. Well, then Taylor and Kylan, they reveal their votes, right? And their votes were going to be for Tucker and Eric, right? And then Izzy and Paige.
Yeah, that's not a good look after you've just espoused some feelings about the race design overall favoring one gender over the other. So we're also then going to put a vote on the one all-female team left. It's not a good look. I don't think it was intended that way, but it certainly was a little bit ironic.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, was it possible that did Taylor and Kylan have a agreement with Jag and Jess to not U-turn each other, and that that's part of it, where they felt really let down by Jag and Jess, who did not go through with their side of the deal?
Yeah, so let's talk about this, because I think this is where the uniqueness of this U-turn vote comes in handy. We talked about this last week, that usually with the previous two U-turn votes we saw, it was a live voting. It was you go down the line and you reveal, and you could do it based on what other people are saying. This was a blind vote, like a Survivor, like a Big Brother. People went away, they cast their votes. Sorry, Ashley Hollis, they are locked in. You cannot change them. So looking at the vote itself, on paper, on papyrus, I don't have a problem with it. Because if you look at the options, right, Tucker and Eric are a no-brainer. They did say in this episode, and Taylor has confirmed it as well, that they had a deal to look out for Jag and Jess, and they were hoping it was reciprocal. We saw this with the Express Pass.
Yep.
It was sort of an olive branch, for lack of a better term, from the very beginning. And so if you're looking for a second option, that leaves two teams, Chelsea and Jack and Izzy and Paige. And they were also looking to, sort of like Joseph and Adam, right, throw away a vote. It's sort of like what we saw the Twinnies do back in the day, of purposely wasting the second half of your double U-turn so that it really concentrates the votes onto one team, prevents a plurality mess from happening. I am trying to sort of infer that I would imagine maybe Taylor felt some sort of connection with Chelsea. You know, they are both women of color who have won Big Brother recently. I know there was some talk about a lot of the troubles that they faced respectively a while back during that wild leg with the taxis. And so I really think it was intended as a throwaway vote. They knew that Izzy and Paige wouldn't get any votes in this, you know, headhunting election, essentially. The big issue is it is an objectively bad look if you know that you have voted for the only all-woman team left in the race and you still make this speech. That is the pain point that I think a lot of people were having in the moment, that a lot of people are having online now, that I think even Taylor herself would admit. And that I do think the reasoning behind the vote itself was sound. I think, much like Jag and Jess, what she said to immediately leave into that vote was not so great.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Izzy and Paige agree with that?
Yeah, pretty much. And I feel like this has been not a great season for those of us with two X chromosomes. I'm just going to put it out there. We had all of the
XX lost?
Yeah, why XX lost. Bloomberg's
David's
gonna love the
already
shout
working
out.
on the new podcast.
Yeah. To have all of the female teams except one go out in a row and then have a non-elimination leg that coincidentally happens to protect a male team. P.S. a team I love, and I'm glad they didn't go home. But it's not a good look for the Amazing Race. And there is something that I hope they will examine a little bit, because then you have this week with these much more comparatively cerebral tasks that ends up resulting in like the alpha team going home on the alpha task.
Yeah.
And I also feel like Izzy and Paige were justified in the way they reacted.
Oh yeah.
Too.
Well, can I ask you two both, who are the experts, that do you feel like has this course for the Amazing Race been uncharacteristically more favoring the athletic types? Or, I mean, is this par for the course, and maybe is that the issue?
It doesn't seem to me that it is more difficult than usual, but I think you just have to look at the gender breakdown of Amazing Race winners over time.
Yeah.
To see that there is something going on here. And, you know, it's not, you know, I don't want to say that they have to nerf it for the sake of the women. That's a horrible thing to say, but I think they need to examine, like, what kinds of things are they testing and how can they calibrate it so that everybody is being tested equally.
I think that something that doesn't help is just a generic theme of the Amazing Race that you've talked about a lot, Jess, which is our typical detour options, right? Which we even saw in this episode, which is physical and fast, and, you know, more artsy and slow, in a manner of speaking. And so when you have a physically stacked few group of teams at the very top, they're almost always going to take that faster detour option. They're probably going to finish it faster. They're probably going to keep finishing at the top. I do feel like having that sort of recurring structure to the detours certainly does not help things. I do agree that it doesn't feel like there's anything in particular with this season that like makes it so different than everything else. I do think this is a season where some of the best teams happen to be the male teams. Like I think Jag and Jazz, Tucker and Eric are like good at everything. It's not just a strength based thing. But I do think when you structure things like that, sometimes it does give a head start to the more physically capable teams.
Yeah, and there were a couple of tasks I think that just kind of stood out. Like we have the go-kart task, for instance, or we have like the T-Tour with the fish versus the nets. And where it was very obvious that you were going to get done, one side was going to get done much faster than the other. And P.S., we're going to talk about this detour because this detour was ludicrous.
Okay. Let's now get into, Izzy and Paige, they are going to vote for Tucker and Eric and Jag and Jazz. They do get to get back at Jag and Jazz, cast a U-turn vote for them.
Yeah, that felt a little parenthetical to it all. I think maybe had they not just gotten burned by Taylor moments ago, they would have made a bigger deal about the revenge vote on Jag and Jazz, but they were a little thrown off. And I will say again, like, I think they were justified in the way they reacted, given at least the reasoning that Taylor was providing. And I did like the exchange where Taylor is, emotional, saying, I didn't want to vote for you guys. And Izzy literally shows her the box and says, yeah, neither did we.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Izzy is a treasure.
Yeah. Any other, did we get all the teams that we have the tie?
Yeah, so it's 4 votes for Tucker and Eric, and then 3 votes for Jag and Jazz and Kyland and Taylor. And so now it is a runoff. You can only vote for one team. And Joseph Abden's sense of morality, God help him. If it wasn't, crushed in law school, I'm sure it was in this moment. He looked so pained when he's like, no, don't make me choose between my alliance and my ex.
Well, not even alliance. He said, don't make me choose between my ex and my best friend. And I was like, wait, since when is Joseph and Jag are best friends? I didn't know this.
Strange things happen on The Amazing Race, Rob.
Why didn't anybody tell me that Jag was his best friend?
But do they have to send an announcement, Rob?
I would have liked to have known.
All right, Rob, you gotta change the cross-stitching on your pillow. You have to make Jagseth merchandise.
I had no idea. They're like, wow, look at us. We're the Trainwreck Alliance. We met on a train. We're getting along so well. Now, 9 episodes in, I find out that Jag and Joseph were best friends.
We don't know when they declared. Like, I don't know when they became official, like when they traded the necklaces, but...
And it got mentioned more than once in the episode. This is my best friend.
I also think that this was maybe just Joseph's way of copping out and, like, washing his hands of the whole thing. It's like, this is why you have a race partner, too, because you can just kind of push that onto him. Like, okay, Adam, you make the decision. Then it's on you, and you don't know these people the way I do, so they won't be as mad at you.
So, though, for what it's worth, Joseph did say on Chat BCC that he was not as submissive as maybe it seemed on the show. He immediately didn't be like, I abstain. Apparently, him and Adam were arguing a lot to the point where the producers / camera people were telling him, like, you guys have to back up from each other so we can get you guys in frame, because they were just in each other's faces.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, this is interesting, right? This is Joseph saying, I don't even know what my partner decided. And I gotta admit, the logic, I don't know. I agree with you, Jess, on the one hand about like how it incentivizes everyone to have more teams in there. But again, I'm gonna go back to the reasoning that was expressed of like, we're gonna help save Kyland and Taylor by putting the, I think that Adam made a good point of like, if you want Tucker and Eric out, widening the pool is worse. Because now they've gone from a 50% chance of going home to a 33% chance of going home. Now, granted, the detour was sort of nullified at the end of the day because all the guys were, all the U-turn teams were totally fine with it. But, I think that Taylor took it as a bit of like, A, I would not expect this betrayal coming from you, Joseph, even if your hands were tied. And B, like, you're essentially saying, yeah, good luck with Tucker and Eric and Jag and Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think because of this unique situation where they all know each other, it does get a little more personal. But again,
Yeah.
it's like objectively, this is a strategically sound choice, and we can just say we're doing it for strategy. You don't have to get in the weeds of who you all are to each other.
Yeah.
It's a game.
And so Joseph and Adam ultimately decide to cast the vote for Kylan and Taylor, making them part of the double U-turn vote.
Which is
Triple
a triple
U-turn.
U-turn, essentially.
Triple U-turn.
Yeah, what did we think about that? Did we like the, okay, you both are doing it now. Should they have done a random draw?
Nah, it's a party. Come on.
What I don't
Why
like,
not?
and I see why they had to do it because there was the tie and they all had to revote and everything, but what I don't like, again, is that everybody goes into the leg knowing who's getting U-turned and who's not before they even have to do anything or see what any of the tasks are.
Mm-hmm.
This is still like, again,
Yeah.
it's not a U-turn, it's a T.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing as well, is like, again, I don't love the concept of a U-turn vote. I don't love the idea that Tucker and Eric, Jag and Jazz, Kylan and Taylor, like, they had a little more wiggle room here in that the votes were so split, but like, and essentially they couldn't do anything. They couldn't get ahead of other teams to nullify being U-turned. But I can't deny, again, it led to some very messy personal drama that I was eating up like olives.
Yeah. Could we have with these other 3 teams that were not involved with the double U-turn, like, all right, now we're going to have one more runoff. All right. Joseph and this would have killed Joseph. Joseph and Adam, Izzy and Paige, Chelsea and Jack, your 3 teams. We need 1 vote from each of you.
That gets a little bit in the weeds, and you could already tell like Phil's patience with this entire exercise.
90 minutes before the Amazing Race.
I'm aware, but I
Ask Cedric how in the weeds we can get.
I'm just saying, like, the look on Phil Kogan's face the entire time this is all going down.
He doesn't like it.
And like somebody off camera is like, okay, Phil, now you have to ask them why they did that. And Phil's like, fine. Okay.
Yeah, well, apparently, according to Tucker and Eric, because it was alluded to, like, oh, there was so much more that was shown. They didn't say much in terms of specifics. They just said it was a lot of, like, arguing and monologuing about the points that were essentially shown, but that Phil had tried to butt in a number of times, being like, all right, moving on. And they just would not move on. They were stuck.
Yeah.
Give
like
us the live feeds, you cowards.
Yeah, where
House
you
meeting.
have certain other hosts would just be like instigating the hell out of this. Like, oh yeah, so what did he say? And how does that, are you sure that's how you want to do it? And I feel it's just like, they don't pay me enough to hang out here and watch you guys yell at each other. That's a different show.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like even Julie Chen doesn't have to stand around the Big Brother house while people yell at each other.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see. Now, I don't imagine we're going to have another U-turn, especially after this, but to see like what beef is going to be carried over into future legs, right? Because at least from my perspective, at the end of this, we have Kylan and Taylor mad at Jag and Jazz because they thought that they had this good deal, camaraderie through Express Pass worked out. Not the case. Izzy and Paige are mad at Taylor and Kylan because of the reasoning that they use being perceived as hypocritical. And then Taylor and Kylan are mad at Joseph and Adam for betraying, their years-long friendship, even though it was just to like force this, deadlock tie to send another team into the U-turn. So next time they meet at the airport, I don't know if it's going to be shown, but I'm sure words are going to be exchanged.
All right. Should we get into the tasks after the U-turn vote?
Yeah, we got to talk about this detour. This detour was some BS.
Music in the air or olives everywhere.
Now, did anybody need more than 30 seconds to do that music task? Like the hardest thing about it was look at the list of 3 things you're supposed to take with you and make sure you take all 3 things. And can you count to 3? Good. Okay, go in there, turn the handle for a little bit, get some tourists to throw money at you and you're done. This was so easy. It was so easy, in fact, that any team that didn't screw one thing up was out of there before the other teams even got started.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much was €10, by comparison? Like how much pocket change was? I know that Greece has obviously been through a lot in terms of the economy. So I'm not sure how much these people were like blowing out their wallets for Tucker to do a handstand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's not locals that are giving the money here. It's a very touristy area, and you even saw, like, whenever they talked to people, they weren't talking to the locals.
Like,
They
oh,
were
Big
getting
Brother people are
directions.
here.
Yeah, they're getting. Yeah, I would recognize maybe half of these people if they weren't on The Amazing Race,
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm on vacation in Greece and I see them doing an Amazing Race task, I'm gonna go and throw money at whoever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So there were Americans all over the place at this leg. They were asking Americans for directions. So the fact that everybody knows what The Amazing Race is, and probably a fair few of them had seen Big Brother as well.
Yeah. But how many of them are doing handstands?
The handstand was special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
loved the energy, like, oh, this guy thought he was going to get one over on me. No, I can do a handstand.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do think that the beg for 10 euros thing, I mean, it's always a little odd. I think after they made that a non-elimination penalty, there's been a lot of understandable discourse of like, what's the look of this? Having like Americans beg people for money in foreign countries. But here it was such a nothing burger to the point where, again, like the Laterna was mere set decoration. Like you just put down this heavy thing and then just go around to 3 people, get a combined 10 euros, and you're out of there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about getting 10 olives?
That might be harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know who's just carrying olives around.
Yeah, so this is an Amazing Race classic. This is an Amazing Race classic, right? This is the try the varieties, identify them. We saw this as recently as the cheese task last season. I think it was fine. I guess it's definitely the better of the 2 detour options, but that's not saying much. I mean, we did see a variety of efforts given to this when you have like Kylan and Taylor really getting bogged down in memorizing these things, because not only memorizing the names, it's basically memorizing the taste as well. And then you have Jack and Jess, who like are unbelievable racers. We're going to talk about this. They might be in the conversation for like one of the GOAT teams, but they also just have blind luck on their side as well. That Jess knew Bupkis about what he was supposed to do, and he got it right on the first try.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
That was amazing. And I don't think this was less of a taste task than they were trying to make it out to be, because none of these olives looked identical. Like there were a couple that were the same color, and there were a couple that were like the same texture, but you didn't have to eat the olives every single time like I think you kind of did with the cheese.
You know what else was great? Olive Guy.
Olive Guy was amazing.
Olive Guy was incredible. And you know what? That they say that olive oil is so good for you. And this guy's voice was incredible.
I feel like I don't know how much these judges are supposed to tip their hands, but like him telling Kylan and Taylor, I believe in you, was what they needed in that moment. You know? I don't know if he was overstepping a boundary, but it was the right thing to do.
I think he would have done that for anybody.
Wonderful.
He had a lovely voice.
He was such a supportive guy. I just every time he was on, I was like, oh man, I love Olive Guy.
I feel like Amazing Race task judges have to be on one end of the spectrum or the other. They either have to be like super excited and hyped for you and like pumping you up, or they have to be total a-holes.
Olive Guy.
Like
I hope
every
you're watching.
Olive Guy.
I'm obsessed with Olive Guy. That's from Reality Lex. This is from Robert in the chat. Olive Guy is hilarious. This is from Linda. Olive Guy was a vibe.
He's the OG, the Olive Guy. So now we're having our task judge Ding, Marry, Kill, right? Ding, flute instructor, Zaddy. Marry, Olive Guy, because he's so supportive. Is there a task judge we can kill for this season? Sisyphus?
Yeah, just put him out of his misery. Roll the rock over him.
I don't know.
Tie him to a rock and have a bird peck out his
listen,
blade.
I don't know if it's
that's Prometheus, Mike.
case. I think it's for the listeners to tell us.
Yeah, everybody was lovely. Like they've had A+ task judges across the board.
Oh yeah, to kill the chicken. You know what? That's a very good point.
Yeah, that's it. Kill the chicken.
No, don't tell Steven from Survivor. He won't be able to live with himself.
Listen, that thing is haunting your dreams no matter what, if it's alive or dead, okay?
Yeah, and it wasn't complaining. It was not complaining the way that Steven's chickens were.
Yeah. All right. Let's then talk about Sisyphus and the boulder rolling it up the hill.
I
didn't
mean,
get a good sense of how hard this was.
God help that turtle that decided to wander in the middle of this thing. That thing was
Mhm.
playing with fire.
The ball
Yeah, it
seemed a
didn't.
little squishy.
Yeah, I don't think that was a real boulder.
Yeah.
Well,
Nobody seemed to have too much trouble with it.
I mean, it's interesting because on paper that seems to be the case, but I know that
Paper mache.
Paige talked about it on Instagram, I think, before the episode that she, that Izzy apparently all the way back in leg 2, the Zhizhgov television tower, hurt her knees really badly after taking a fall, to the point where a doctor afterwards described it as having whiplash in both knees. So apparently she was, probably struggling mightily racing in general, but even then they were able to push through it literally and get to the top of this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, here's an old school reference. I saw that thing and my first thought was roll it on Rupert's toe.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking back to Survivor Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You gotta dig, Sisyphus.
But there are not enough ball jokes. Like, that's how you know Jeff Probst wasn't there, because there were almost no ball jokes.
Yeah. Who's got the stones to U-turn me?
All right, and after Sisyphus, we had to go through the alphabet. Who's the alpha?
So let's talk about this, because I was so ready to decry this task, and not to say it was like a great task whatsoever, but like, are they really just going to memorize the Greek alphabet and go to another person and just recite it from memory?
Mm-hmm.
And so I am happy they went the extra kilometer, I suppose, and decided to rearrange things to really throw Tucker off primarily. This really seemed to be the thorn in his paw at the end of the day.
Well, I liked when Jag went and then just didn't even look at the thing and just did the Greek alphabet, and then they showed like he got every single one wrong.
Rob, you were in Greek life. Do you think you know the Greek alphabet at this point?
You know what? Well, I certainly know the uppercase,
yes.
But I think it's been a minute since I really thought about it. I think I might struggle with the lower. It would take me a little bit.
Well, there were a few of them that if you've been in a STEM field at any point, you recognize. Like, you recognize the mu and you recognize theta.
Yeah, there's a lot of coefficients. I feel like they use gamma, rho. I think they use sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps. And there's also some context clues. Poor Joseph looking at the lowercase n and being like, "It's Kai." Nobody do that next level thinking, buddy. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I like that omega, lowercase omega, looks like a butt.
Oh,
it's the end.
It's the end. Yeah, we gotta have to come up with the mnemonic devices. All right, let's talk through our teams that in the order they finished. And here's Jag and Jess. They are back on top, and they were the first team to ever get a U-turn and then end up in first place.
It's pretty amazing. It's giving like the Cowboys having a speed bump back in, I think, 24 and coming up to the top after almost getting eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of amazing performance.
These guys are unbelievable. Like, again, maybe the strategic decision they made or the reasoning they used not so great, but like, good God, they were U-turned, which, as we've talked about, is in theory supposed to be kind of a death knell for teams, and they finished both sides of the detour before teams from the Olive Task got there. They are absolutely sublime when it comes to navigation. Like, seriously, these dudes seemingly never get lost, or at least what makes the edit. The only car hangups they get are when it accidentally gets stuck somewhere. And the fact is, like,
they crash.
It's just wild to me that, again, this was a team that was targeted specifically, being like, we gotta knock them down in some way. But they literally sprung back up like a punching bag and just knocked everyone else out and kept on going.
They got knocked down and they got up again.
Absolutely. Yeah. They went tub thumping and they thumped the competition. And so, to have them make amazing race history, it's wild to think about, like, some of the records and near records we got. Tucker and Eric nearly tied an Amazing Race record with their first place finishes, but especially with Tucker and Eric gone, look, the Amazing Race, a lot of variables can come in. Sometimes it is Roe and Mew, but how can we not say that these guys are going to win the season?
Yeah.
Like,
and
they're ridiculous.
Congratulations to Jazz and Jag's sister, who was having a baby also during this leg.
As well as congratulations to me, because I believe I drafted them.
Oh, congratulations to Jess.
So if they end up winning, I'm not going to be mad at that.
They also, in terms of like the team chemistry, like there's not even like one whiff of like, have they even like argued or said like one crossword to each other the whole way through? Like they're on the same page constantly.
Yeah. They have a great relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No drama, but no team drama, maybe a little intra team. Okay. Jack and Chelsea. Wow, look at them. Number 2.
That was amazing. Good for them.
I mean, it was all Chelsea. Much like Tucker fell due to the memory test, Chelsea succeeded. I like her bringing up that, like, yeah, we do forget sometimes that Chelsea does tie the Big Brother record for HOH wins. She was really good at especially those mental cops towards the end, where it's all about memorizing days and facts and figures. And so, her and Jack were able to keep up, and they were able to take advantage of that. Now, where I'm a little worried is that Chelsea apparently said that Jack was very hurt at this point, that his knees were such a trouble point that apparently Chelsea was talking with producers mid-leg about whether or not they should pull themselves from the race right there, right then. Like, especially when they were, surprise, getting lost. I think there was just so much moving around, so much walking around that it got to a point where, Jack might not have been able to make it to the mat.
Oh my God.
And so that does worry me.
Why did they show that?
They had a lot going on.
They had a lot going on. I am intrigued by it. Maybe it means nothing to the fact that we didn't see it. I feel like with a lot of these big injuries that are debilitating, they typically show them to us, but it does make me feel like this second place may not be a permanent standing point. I mean, they had a really good leg, obviously their best leg yet, but that does worry me a little bit.
It does feel like a little bit of a sugar high with 3 teams doing the U-turn.
Yeah, it kind of has an asterisk on it, but still, it's pretty amazing. I think we've talked a lot about how there's so many Big Brother challenges that are just like, okay, you've got to go in this room and look at this thing. Then you got to leave the room, and Julie's going to ask you a bunch of questions about what you saw on the thing. This was that task.
Oh, Coltane brings up a good point. Yeah, Coltane brings up a good point in the chat. We had the whole thing with Pops last season, if you remember, Jess, where he took a bad fall and his knees were horrible, and they lost in a foot race pretty much because of it, and they just didn't show it whatsoever.
Chekhov's knees.
Yeah, I would say
they were checked back in legs 2 and 3, Rob.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you really, Amazing Race is not easy on the knees. It's not for the weak of knee.
All right. Joseph and Adam, they come in 3rd place, and it looked like that Joseph was really struggling with the alphabet task also, but he ends up coming through.
I did like that Jag and Joseph are like, all right, let's work together on this one. And then like Joseph turns around and Jag is like a cloud of dust. Like he's a cartoon character that just vamooses so quickly. He's like, all right, well, so much for collusion. I guess I'm doing this solo bolo.
Yeah, there was a little bit of drama where they forgot the stand on getting to bring out the music box.
Yeah, I liked that they were trying to help. When they realized that Taylor had made the same mistake, they tried to get her attention.
Yeah, they tried. They tried like hey, Taylor, but nowhere to be found.
I was gonna say, is it like when a car's waiting for you to cross the road and you're like, I'm hurrying up, but you're actually not hurrying up. They're like, oh, Taylor, we yelled for you. You didn't hear us.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I do love, again, I don't want to like have a toying with Joseph Abdon's morals be like a recurring theme of this season, but to have him feel so bad about it, he's like, I'm gonna try to help everyone I can. I'm so sorry for you all.
Yeah. But then
just
when he
emotionally torture the poor boy.
My best friend. Let's work together.
What if he has a different best friend every week? Maybe that's why he's so beloved by everybody.
Yeah, so many best friends. All right, Joseph and Adam, third place finish for them. Izzy and Paige.
I really felt like just visceral emotion in that moment where Izzy is upset by the fact that like she infers, right, like, okay, if Kylan and Taylor were at the Olives, that means that probably Jag and Jas and Tucker and Eric were already at the Olives, which means they're already in front of us. Because as we talked about, like, I would imagine for Izzy and Paige, for Jack and Chelsea, for Joseph and Adam to a certain extent, like, this was also a prime opportunity for them to be at the front of the pack. You know, Joseph and Adam celebrated the fact that they were in first place for a portion of the leg. And so to kind of have that wash over their face of like, shit, you know, any disadvantage we gave them was promptly nullified. It's disappointing to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Like
yeah, and you know that Izzy has no poker face, so yeah. I think that's a hard place to be in on The Amazing Race. Yeah, because you have to try to not do that.
They did well on the olive task.
Yeah, aced it on the first try.
Did the letters.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out. This was something that they went over in Chat BCC.
Oh yeah.
Earlier today, they had a cab driver who was kind of a misogynistic F-wad. From what I understand, like they're trying to clarify like what direction he was going in, and he told them to shut up, woman. So
weird
that was
for the cab drivers.
On. Yeah, I would say
this has not been a good season for European cab drivers, kind of giving everyone a bad name.
Well, we asked Tucker and Eric about something that they had been talking about on Chat BCC, where that their cab driver was showing them, Mike, some pornography that he was starring in.
I was going to say.
He's like, oh, you guys are actors? Like, let me show you some of my acting, and proceeded to show them him performing in pornographic film.
That's a hell of a litmus test, man. Like, you are putting yourself out there in more ways than one to be like, you understand the acting scene, right? Here's my rear end and then some.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my lowercase omega.
Kylan and Taylor, 5th place. It was a little neck and neck with Taylor and Tucker at the letterboard.
Yeah. From what we are given to understand, it was just a couple of minutes separating them at the end.
Wow. I mean, yeah, and it seemed like it was. I know they sometimes like to fabricate tension, right? Of like, oh, they're both stuck in traffic. Who could it be? But I mean, didn't Eric even tells Tucker in the moment, like, oh yeah, they're only a couple minutes ahead of us. So it was really close. It was a little odd to see like the Wiz-esque brand new day celebration for like when Kylan and Taylor show up to the mat and everyone's like, Kalu Kalay, sorry we voted for you, but the kings have been slain.
Yeah, I mean, it's real results oriented, but it's like, hey, look, it didn't matter. You guys are still in it. Yay.
Do we think that there is drama that is lasting beyond this leg of the race based off of everything that unfolded on the mat with the U-turn vote?
I think we're getting into the part of the race where it's really going to be every team for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless, I don't think we have the sort of like Mine 5 situation where we're going to see all the teams ganging up on another team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think if anything, it may be that we're going to get either less of the Taylor Joseph banter, or it's going to be much more awkward. Because I don't think she wants to necessarily engage with that until she's cooled down at least a little bit. I will also mention on Chat BCC, because previous racer Hannah Chada asked Kylan and Taylor, like, okay, if you have this point about women being at a disadvantage, maybe compared to men in this race, why did you give the express pass to Jag and Jas? And Kylan was pretty out about
Hannah asking the tough questions on Chat.
Listen,
PCC.
This is a former Big Brother interviewer. She knows how to bring the hard hits. But Kylan expressed with the express pass that basically him and Taylor were actually split between he wanted to give it to Hannah and Simone, she wanted to give it to Joseph and Adam. And so they sort of settled upon, okay, what's a team that we really don't have a relationship?
The baby.
Well, it was more so like a let's go with a neutral party, right? This was someone that they didn't really have a connection with. And I'm sure we'll get more explanation for them in the coming weeks, either in the finale or if they're eliminated next. So we're getting a little bit more drips and drabs as to why they made the decision as they did. But unfortunately, it did not end up in reciprocating in terms of a U-turn vote strategy.
Okay. All right. Kylan and Taylor, they struggled with the olives, didn't end up killing them. Taylor was very clutch with the letters.
Yeah, it was overall, well, I think that it kind of played to Taylor's strengths. Like she is good at those kinds of challenges.
Yeah. Okay. And then last and unfortunately least this week, it's Tucker and Eric. They were such a good team. Like if you run this race, I don't know, 100 times, like I feel like they're winning a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they were good. They were good at basically everything. Again, it's to your earlier point, Rob. It's kind of weird talking about how sudden this was. This was not a situation where it's like they can't overcome the U-turn at the very beginning of the leg, and so they're just trying to catch up, but it's not happening.
They were in second place.
Yeah, they were in the top of the pack like they always were until this one task. And maybe that should put sort of the fear of the Greek gods into the other teams that, like, if these guys can get knocked down by any ordinary roadblock, who's to say it won't happen with you? But yeah, it's still kind of weird to wrap your head around the fact that, like, they just had their feet cut under them from so quickly. But these guys, especially Eric, like, they were so good at seemingly every single thing that the race threw their way. Like you mentioned with Jag and Jess, they were great with each other. They told me that they never fought once on the race. I think from what Eric espoused, he described it as like really the wrestling mentality. They both wrestled in high school. Eric was a D1 wrestler, of like the idea of like discipline, don't complain, just sort of tighten the belt and move on to the next thing.
Well, they're maniacs. They were telling us about how that then, like, when they had off days on the Amazing Race, they were working out.
It's wild. Like everybody else was probably just sleeping for the entire like 12-hour pit stop.
Yeah, Eric was doing 1,000 laps around the room to get his steps in.
No wonder these guys got U-turned
on the off day. Yeah, they're maniacs.
I'd U-turn them.
Yeah.
Why would you get your steps in on the Amazing Race?
I don't know. Mel Hooker said this. What do we think? She said, least entertaining team of all time.
No, that's a real race to the bottom.
I was going to say, if you want to go back to some seasons of teams that made it to like Final Four, Final Three, we could give you a laundry list.
The only thing I will say is, though, on Big Brother, Tucker was really known for being such a exciting, big character on Big Brother. I feel like that they were great racers, but I don't feel like that they really brought like a lot of like wacky antics to the Amazing Race.
I would agree with that. I totally think that makes sense, especially compared to expectation. Maybe Mel's point is right. And that, again, Tucker was this wild Tasmanian devil of chaotic energy. There's a reason why he is the first player to not make the jury and still win the fan favorite award. And I don't know if it's because like Eric balanced him out, was sort of like the yin to the yang. I mean, but I don't know though, because we got the ice cream and the magnets and I asked them about it. And they said they got magnets on every single leg. Like, there might have been antics that we just are not privy to.
I'm going to need to see photos of the magnet collection.
Yeah, take a picture of the fridge.
I wonder which, like, did one of them get all the magnets? Did they split up the magnets?
Did they each buy a magnet?
Prizes. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I want to know. Here's what I want to know. They've talked about, like, when we come back to the Amazing Race, which is a common theme, I feel like, when we do an exit interview.
I do feel like they said if.
Yeah, but you have teams that are like, they don't really know what else to talk about, so they're just like, well, next time, if we ever got a chance to come back. I do think we got a couple of teams in this race that are redonkulously good at everything they do, and yet are still like screwing up left and right because they haven't really thought hard about it from a specifically Amazing Race angle. If Tucker and Eric take some time to really strategize and think about the Amazing Race from an Amazing Race point of view, and not from a, CBS funded vacation with magnets and fun tasks and workouts in the hotel room kind of point of view.
Yeah.
There's nobody that could touch them.
Let Eric be in charge, okay? With all due respect to Tucker, America's favorite player, but I would trust Eric with my life. Okay, I think that
He wins that roadblock. Who would you trust with your life?
I just think that the super intelligent guy, Mamba mentality. He is gonna like be good at everything physically. Just let him be. Like I think that maybe they were just like go 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 go. But I think if like you just put Eric a little bit more in charge and the leader, who's the alpha? It's Eric.
Well, I think it's also maybe their approach would be to actually have an approach like, you can always tell who or who not was prepped for the race by whether they had 2 backpacks or 1 backpack. And Eric and Tucker were 2 backpacking it the entire time. So I think now that they have a sense as to what the race can provide, I could definitely see a narrative for them coming back. I feel like they have unfinished business written all over them, considering that like you could even create the narrative as faulty as it is, like the U-turn really screwed everything up when, again, it was one specific roadblock. Maybe, again, I don't think they would necessarily make the most interesting television because they also were a team that up until this point faced very little challenge or adversity in the race as well, which also doesn't create a lot of fun, dramatic moments. But also, maybe if they come back for a second time, they ramp up the antics, not to say that I necessarily want scripted, staged bits on The Amazing Race, but maybe they feel like they can be a little bit more of their wackadoo selves, knowing that they can still dominate in the race proper and bring the good TV as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but 2 things. One, the 1 backpack strategy. I feel like you get called out if you don't actually credit season 27 Justin with the 1 backpack strategy. This is like, I think this is what he wants to be his legacy.
Right. I think a lot of people attribute it to another Big Brother team in Jess and Cody because they made a video about it, but Justin, I believe, was the pioneer of it.
He's indignant about this.
Can you remind me what is the 1 backpack strategy?
You pack as light as possible and you race with 1 backpack so that it minimizes the amount of time you're screwing around with backpacks, and you just kind of entrust 1 person to carry it, which streamlines your racing process.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's sound. It's smart. I can see the appeal of it.
Yeah. Don't bring your resistance bands like Eric did.
Don't bring 40 pounds of gear like
you needed to bring his workout equipment.
It was fine with them, apparently. They got 4 first-place finishes with 40 pounds on their back each.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to...
They were doing their own hazard tasks. They had to wear 40 pounds on their backs for the entirety of the race.
Yeah.
And this goes back to, if they knew how to pack for The Amazing Race, could anybody touch them?
No. Okay. All right. Anything else from episode 9?
No, we are going to, we're not staying long in Greece. We are hopping across the Mediterranean. We are going to Italia.
Oh, that's
again, second
fun.
Season in a row. I believe we're going to Milan next episode.
Okay. We'll talk about that on Thanksgiving week. And I think that we were trying to figure out our exact timing of this. And it looks like Friday we will bring you our Amazing Race coverage. So just hang in there a little bit later for us. And we'll be so thankful that you did. Okay? All right. Mike, what's coming up for you?
So, as we talked about a couple of times, I did an interview with Tucker and Eric, which was a lot of fun. Again, shed a little bit of light as to what we missed out on up on the hill. Got some more perspectives into why they chose the ice cream and the magnets in the first place and made that their thing. But a very enjoyable talk with a very enjoyable team. Did the Survivor exit interview as well. And then, of course, on the B&B, this week, talking this episode with Teeny from Survivor 47, which should be very exciting. And then also, I did a big old chonky uppercase Omega, that's how big it was, reality flash about the mid-season spring reality TV schedules for the big 4 broadcast networks, CBS, Fox, NBC, ABC, what there is to expect from news shows, from shows returning. We talk a lot about the Survivor 50 news that has been released this past week, and something to make note of, no Amazing Race.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. So,
it has been displaced by America's Culinary Cup.
Okay, and so we should expect the Amazing Race 39 in the fall?
I believe that is the plan. It is in the can already.
Yeah.
Rob, if you want me to come on and like passive aggressively diss America's Culinary Cup for the entire season, I'm happy to do that.
Because it's taking the Amazing Race's spot, or
because
it's
just be like, well, we could have had the Amazing Race, but no, instead we've got this. I'm happy to do that.
Listen, I'm open to it. Let's see. And then The Amazing Race on the shelf, we have seen in the past where other times that there are shows that do not work out, and then The Amazing Race is the first show off the bench. So I think that sometimes they like to have Amazing Race as sort of like the lineup spackle to pop in anytime. Ooh, okay, that one's canceled.
Yeah, we're going to Viva Laughlin it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, basically nowadays it's like, okay, let's find these 90-minute reality shows. Like that's essentially had this happen with the Summit too. Amazing Race wasn't on last fall because of the Summit, so they're doing this time with America's Culinary Cup. So I would bet.
But the Culinary Cup, I think, is only an hour, and then I think there's going to be Hollywood Squares on at 10:30.
Oh, talk about fitting a square peg into a round hole. Yeah. So
Brandon told me that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, listen, it'd be pretty audacious for them right off the gate to be like, here's our hour-and-a-half show. You love Palm and Lakshmi? You better, because you're getting a full-length movies amount for every week.
All right.
But yeah, I would say we should expect 39 in the fall. I think people were a little confused because next fall, is the 25th anniversary of the show's premiere. And so you'd expect like, okay, maybe they'll do this 40th season, which people are anticipating would be some sort of theme season or returning season, do it then. But I think it's like Survivor will they'll probably, provided the show gets renewed and everything, film 40 over the summer and then just air it the next year. So again, I said it before, get your hands around these next few weeks of Amazing Race because that's all we've got for the next little while.
All right. And then Jess, what's coming up for you?
What's coming up for me? Well, we've got our exit interview is up on the feeds now. People can read that. And I figure maybe Amazing Race being off the air is CBS banking on like, I'm going to sell a novel and I'm going to be too busy to recap Amazing Race. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
For our Amazing Race.
Yep. Oh, hit us up on Chat BCC because that's where all the Amazing Race drama is.
The players are spilling all the tea, and Hannah Chott is asking the tough questions that you want to know.
Yeah, that's the thing. They are live posting the episode because they have not seen these ahead of time. So they're talking a lot about their own experiences, watching other teams, POVs, talking about what happened with them behind the scenes. And it's giving a lot of context, I think, like when we do exit interviews as well, to a lot of stuff that's going on in front of our faces. So sign up. It's completely free. Check in on Wednesday night, and let's see what's going on in Italy next week.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.